SoD Phase 4 is here. Let's have a look how we're going to bust into Molten Core and heal as a Restoration Shaman. First up, looking at the stat priorities we want, the number one big daddy is going to be Intellect. The main thing this does is it increases our mana pool. Now in Phase 4, we do have a baseline, added in Phase 4, is a baseline spell, Shamanistic Rage. And this basically is a spell we can use to restore a percentage of our mana. And because Intellect increases our mana pool and Shamanistic Rage is based on percentages rather than amounts, it means it synergizes really, really well with this. Imagine it's restoring 5% of 100, that's 5 mana. But if we have 200 mana, say because we've got more Intellect, then that's going to be 10 it's restoring. Take that as an example. Then it's going to be Spell Healing. We do obviously need to be careful with this because it's actually a bit more complex than it first seems. Spell Healing increases our healing. Wow, fantastic. However, it actually depends on the cast time of the spell, therefore how much benefit you get from it. Let me explain that in a bit further detail for you. A shorter spell will therefore be less effective because of this. If you imagine that you're getting all the spell healing from your gear and you've got a really long cast time, let's say imagining it's actually equal, which is not, you've got a really long cast time spell and all of this healing gear is going to add 100 healing to it, but it's on a huge cast time, right? Then imagine you have an instant cast spell that it's adding the same amount of healing to. There'd be no point using your cast time spell because after adding all that gear, your instant one would just be so much more efficient. So what Blizzard does because of that is they say an instant cast spell will get about 43% of your spell healing, whereas a really long cast time will get 100% of the benefit. AoE gets very little benefit. And you see there how it evens out. This doesn't mean, though, that spell healing isn't good on instant cast spells. It just means that it actually makes more logistical sense when you even it out with the numbers. If that all just sounds really confusing, then don't worry. Spell healing's good, get it on your gear. After that, it's going to be MP5, which is mana per 5 seconds, helping obviously your mana regen. Spell crit, obviously meaning you can do more healing. And spirit, again, will help a little bit with mana. For the talents, it's no surprise, most of them are going into the restoration tree. Now, if you are still leveling up, do make sure to check out my Phase 1, 2, and 3 guides that are on my channel in the playlists, so that you can see what you should be taking at level 25, 40, and 50. Once we hit 60, of course, we are putting most of our spells or talents into the restoration tree, as seen here. They're pretty much straightforward increases, like on our improved healing wave, reducing the cast time of it massively. And we have some really good utility ones, like Tidal Mastery, increasing the critical effect of our lightning and healing spells. So if there is any downtime, we can do TPS. This actually helps that as well. Purification here, giving a massive increase to overall healing done. Or things like restorative totems, adding effectiveness to your totems that are healing, and also your mana spring. One of my favourites is the Nature's Swiftness cooldown that we get here. This basically can be used in emergencies, where your next spell will be instant cast, meaning you can get a big old heal out really quickly. In fact, instantly. One really interesting one is Healing Wave here. Your Healing Wave spells have a 100% chance to increase the effect of subsequent Healing Wave spells on the target by 6% for 15 seconds. And it can stack up to 3 times. And this is really, really good if we are on a single target. Lastly, Mana Tide Totem. On a 5-minute cooldown, summons a Mana Tide Totem with 5 health at the caster's feet for 12 seconds, restoring a large amount of mana every 3 seconds to group members within 20 yards. Really good there for getting some mana back for you and your group. Lastly, we're putting 5 out of 5 into Ancestral Knowledge, again increasing your mana by 5%. Synergizes really well again with Shamanistic Rage, which is an ability that's now again baseline that we can use to get some mana back and also reduce damage taken. That then takes us onto the runes here for Restoration Shaman. Fairly straightforward on a lot of them. Starting off with the head, we have Tidal Waves. Both Tidal Waves and Riptide on the wrist rune really synergize well together. So what do? Tidal Waves. When you cast Chain Heal or Riptide, again, Riptide is on the wrist rune, you gain 2 charges of Tidal Waves, which reduces the cast time of your healing wave by 30% and increases the crit effect chance of your lesser healing wave by 25%. This can really help with mobility, giving us those super quick and instant cast times on our spells. If we're having to move around a lot on a boss, etc., this can be fantastic. Let's just talk about Riptide on its own as well, since we're already there. It heals a friendly target for X amount and then another amount over 15 seconds. Your next chain heal cast on that primary target within those 15 seconds will consume the healing over time effect and increase the amount of chain heal by 25%, and also triggers Ancestral Awakening. Ancestral Awakening is on the foot rune. Now, you can see I've actually chosen Spirit of the Alpha, but first let's talk about Ancestral Awakening. When you critically heal with your healing wave or lesser healing wave, you summon an ancestral spirit to aid you, instantly healing the lowest percentage party member within 40 yards for 30% of the amount healed. It's a fantastic passive heal that we can use. Now, the reason I go for Spirit of the Alpha is because it actually does something amazing. It infuses the target with the Alpha Wolf, and that will be the tank, increasing their threat generated by 45% for 30 minutes. It is a limit for one target, of course, and if you do cast it on anyone that's not yourself, which obviously we would be, we're casting it on the tank, then the Shaman gains Loyal Beta, increasing physical damage done by 5% and reducing all threat done by 30% for 30 minutes. This is a basically really easy way that we can support our team and especially the tank. If there is another Shaman in the group that is actually providing this, I would go for Ancestral Awakening. Or if you just really do need the extra healing and the tank doesn't need any help with threat generation. So it, again, does depend on the group setup if you will take this or not. On the chest rune, we can go for Overload or Healing Rain. I prefer Overload. I think it's a lot more beneficial. Gives your Chain Heal Healing Wave a 50% chance to cast a second similar spell on the target at no cost that causes half the healing. So basically, it's like, imagine you're critting. It's just doing a second spell on that target. So if you heal them, you could do a second less powerful one immediately and passively on the target. Whereas Healing Rain, which is like an AoE heal where you place on the target, will, yes, heal people in that area, but it does really require people to be grouped up and not move to get the full effectiveness. And especially on fights where there could be a lot of moving, this can really wane in how important it is, meaning that Overload is going to be the better option in most cases. Lastly, on the top here for the hand rune, we're going with Water Shield. This is the best option and really only option for healing. You're surrounded by 3 globes of water, gaining a percentage of your mana back per 5 seconds. When a spell, melee, or ranged attack hits you, 4% mana is restored, and that expends a water globe. Only 1 globe will activate every few seconds, and it lasts 10 minutes. The other shield we will be using is Earth Shield. TLDR, use Water Shield on yourself and Earth Shield on the tank. Protects the target with an earthen shield, reducing casting or channeling time lost when damaged, and causing attacks to heal the shielded target. Again, put that one on the tank and put the water one on yourself. On the waist, we're going with Power Surge. Each time Flame Shock deals damage, which we're not really going to be doing, or Riptide heals, it has a 5% chance to reset the cooldown on Chain Lightning and Lava Burst, and make your next chain heal within 10 seconds instant. A great way of getting multiple target heals out instantly, again, on the move, etc. This could be amazing if there's a lot of movement in a fight for just those instant chain heals and get the group back up. Additionally, every 5 seconds, you will gain mana equal to 15% of your intellect, which is phenomenal for obviously getting our mana back as a healer. On the new cloak, we've got Coherence, causing your chain heal effectiveness to only reduce by 35% per jump. And each jump also goes to an additional target, basically making Chain Heal even more powerful than it is already. Lastly, on the rings, I go for Nature Specialization and Fire, just in case we are doing any off-healing DPS. Apart from that, you could go, if you want, into Defense Skill as well, but there's nothing else we really need from those ring slots as a healer. Now looking at the actual priority we're going to be using when we heal, number 1, use your Riptide. This is going to put the hot or a heal over time on the target as well as healing them, remember, and will activate tidal waves. I'll go back over that in a second so we can remember what we've spoken about. We can follow that up by a lesser healing wave or healing wave when needed if we are, the target is in a lot of trouble. Keep your group buffing totems active and maybe discuss with your raid which ones you're going to be using, and keep them in range of members, remember. If they go out of the range, because they won't be causing any effect. And remove any dangerous debuffs, including fear effects, with your Tremor totem. That's kind of just the utilities that we need to be covering off as a priority. After that, don't forget, we're keeping Water Shield on ourselves and Earth Shield on the tank, getting mana back for us and getting some healing and reducing the effectiveness of attacks, stopping casting, etc. on our tank. If you have ruined it, use Healing Rain. Remember, I did say generally that Overload will be a lot better, but if for whatever reason you have gone for Healing Rain, maybe it's a fight where everyone is really stacked up and Healing Rain would be beneficial, use this at that point. After that, we're going to be using a lot of our Chain Heal. It's really, really good in this phase. We really absolutely love it. And after that, using Riptide. A bit more on Riptide then and Tidal Waves. So remember, when we cast Chain Heal or Riptide, we will get 2 charges of the Tidal Waves rune. That is going to reduce the cost of our next healing wave by 30%. Sorry, not cost, cast. So cast time, reducing the cast time of our next healing wave by 30%. And massively increasing the crit chance of our lesser healing wave by 25%. At number 1 here, where we're using Riptide and then following with a lesser healing wave or healing wave, remember, this is why, because we're getting those tidal wave procs, and therefore using those after it will be a lot more powerful. Same with our Chain Heal. It's all working symbiotically to buff each other around Riptide and tidal waves. So just to recap then, when we use Riptide or Chain Heal, it is going to cause those tidal wave buffs, fully enhancing both our lesser healing wave and healing wave. So we can use basically Riptide, lesser and healing wave when needed, keeping up our shields on us and the tank, using Chain Heal or Healing Rain if we really must, if we are ruined for it, when we need to heal multiple people, and making sure that we're debuffing people and getting rid of things like Fear with Tremor Totem and keeping up our group buffing totems. If you are struggling with mana still and you would like to down rank, the ones I would recommend are Lesser Healing Wave and Healing Wave. These are the 2 that are actually going to benefit more from down ranking over other spells. And the reason behind that is because spells learnt below level 20 get a lesser benefit from our spell healing, etc. from gear. And therefore that is why these 2 spells are the best ones to down rank if you do need to over other spells. So that just should help you pick out the priority if that is something you wish to do. And that is pretty much, guys, how you're going to play Restoration Shaman in this phase of Season of Discovery. If you do need any extra help at all, please do consider joining my Patreon, which massively supports this small channel, but also I can help you one-on-one in DMs over there for any queries you may have about the spec or rotation. If you are looking for other class guides, you can also check out the playlist here, which has all of them for this phase. By the way, if you do also join the Patreon, you're also going to get loads of behind-the-scenes guides and videos, macros, and also access to a VIP channel in Discord where we have loads of class experts that can also help you alongside me, of course.